Hey, welcome to the Master and Drum Whiskey Room to another round. Collaboration between a bunch of YouTube channels talking whiskey topics, whiskey news. Starting to what side is that? My left. Why don't you guys start introducing yourself? Let's look at Scott. What do you got, Scott?
Hey guys, glad to finally be back after, it's been maybe a 2-month hiatus or something. So glad to be back, kind of talking whiskey with all you guys. So my name's Scott, my bourbon journey. You can check me out, my YouTube channel, Instagram, Twitter, all that other good stuff.
Next up, Kyle.
What's up, everyone? Kyle with Bourbon Blinds, the best blind whiskey review channel on YouTube. Everything Instagram, YouTube, not much Twitter. Everything's just Bourbon Blind and Bourbon Blind Nation on Facebook. And we just do blind reviews of mostly American whiskey.
The other blind channel.
Haha. Hey, everybody. John with Blind Whiskey Reviews, the original Blind Whiskey Review channel, and still the best. You can catch me on Instagram and Twitter, blind_reviews. You can also catch me on Instagram at Mission Bottle Kill. I started an account where I'm posting people killing all kinds of great bottles of whiskey. So it's been a lot of fun. I've been doing it for the last several months. I think I just hit 2,500 followers today. So it's been a lot of fun, growing really quick. So definitely go check that out if you haven't already.
Congrats, man. Dude, that's probably one of the coolest Instagram accounts out there for whiskey.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Definitely. And you all know him. You all love him. It's Scott from Scott Says Dummies.
Scott Says Dummies. Sometimes we do blind reviews. In fact, we might have been one of the first channels to do a blind review, although not exclusively.
Yeah,
I didn't claim to invent it. I just said I did it exclusively.
He might have you guys there. He might have you guys there. Yeah, Bart's blind quick hitter surrounded by board games.
Yeah.
So tonight, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to be talking some kind of hot topics in whiskey. We're going to talk some whiskey predictions for 2020. There's some interesting data points that came out. You know, the whiskey geek in me couldn't help myself in looking at some of these trends, and I want to get your guys' input, see what the chat room thinks about it as we kind of move forward in the show tonight. But first, before we get into that, for those viewers who haven't seen anybody's whiskey of the year selections yet, Scott, Scott from My Bourbon Journey? What was your number one whiskey of the year?
My number one whiskey of the year was actually batch number one from Foregate Whiskey Company. That was the Kelvin collaboration. And again, I know we all got the comments about, you can't find this at your local Meyer or Total Wine. We all know that. I mean, a lot of ours are going to be kind of difficult to find. But for me, I just felt that, that first release that Foregate did where they blended with the rum and
sherry.
Yeah, sherry casks. And it just, that blend that they did, I mean, it finishing that already good whiskey, it just really hit all the marks for me. So for me, that was my 2019 whiskey of the year.
Kyle, what was yours?
Not exactly readily available, but either the RC6 or B519. For me, both of those were just freaking phenomenal.
Yeah, I was really impressed with that Makers this year. That almost made it into my top 5. That was a really great release from Makers. I was really impressed with that one.
Dude, if Makers always tasted like that, I would have been drinking Makers a long time ago.
I just dropped my review of that today, and it was good when I first reviewed it, but it's only been open like a week, and it's so much better now. It's tasting really good.
Blind Whiskey Reviews. What was your whiskey of the year?
So I didn't do a whiskey of the year. I kind of kept it to my favorite whiskeys that were quasi available, but I would say out of that list that I put up on my video, I'd say probably like the Wild Turkey Cornerstone was one of my favorites, or I really enjoyed my Michter's Barrel Proof Rye this year. I also would have I never had a bottle of it, but I did get to try it a couple of times. That Kelvin collaboration from Foregate. I mean, Jason sent me a sample of it, and he sent me a blind sample I tasted on a live, and I also tasted it over at Bobby's Adventures in Whiskey, and it was just amazing both times. If I had a bottle of it, it would have made my list.
Yeah.
And Scott Says Dummies, what was yours?
I went with the Walking Dead bourbon.
You know what? I didn't.
No,
think
I didn't.
I didn't.
I'm kidding. That was funny. It wasn't that bad of a whiskey. I had low expectations going into it just because of some other movie hyped whiskeys that I bought recently that weren't very good. And when I tried, I was like, okay, well, it's actually not a bad whiskey. Now I paid when it came out, it was $35, and I still see it for that. But then we've had some comments come in on videos, and people have been finding that for like $10 and $12 now on clearance racks.
Yeah,
and it's definitely worth $10 or $12. 35 is pushing it. But yeah, $20-$25 range is probably where it should have been. If you can find that for $10 or $12, oh, that's a steal.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
Yeah,
our top 5 bourbons is coming out tomorrow, so I won't reveal what's number 1. But
nice.
we were talking beforehand. What's in my top 5 is that Dickel 13-year bottled in bond. I really like that this year. Our allocated bottles we just didn't really see this year, so we had a lot of just shelf pick stuff. But I'll tell you, New Riff was in my top 5. Their single barrel. And the Four Roses small batch select. Yeah, that one was in mine as well.
Yep. Yeah, same here.
That one had a lot of mixed reviews, it seems, across the Whiskeytube spectrum. Some people liked it, some people
Well, I know John was talking about before about it not being as great, but I think for me, that was one after about a month and a half, it changed and really got good. I thought it was already good from the time it was a neck pour, but I think once it got into that month and a half, maybe even 2 months, it really kind of just opened up and got really, really good. So
mine was the Four Roses limited edition 2019, which had some 21-year-old blended bourbon in that one. The more and more I went to it, the more it impressed me. I drank it down to I only have about a quarter of a bottle left, and that thing just kind of floored me throughout the year. I mean, I was really privileged to have a lot of great bourbons this year and whiskeys, so it was a really hard choice. But that one just seemed to evolve and impress me over time. It was really good.
You weren't privileged; you were just willing to empty your bank account.
Well, that too. Yeah. That helps when you're just kind of hand your wallet over. What were your biggest disappointments this year, guys? Let's go reverse. Scott, what was your biggest disappointment? Scott from Scotch Says Dummies.
Well, I'm going to go into the realm of Scotch, and I've just got to go with the Johnny Walker releases, the White Walker release that they had, which might have been towards the end of last year. But overall, that's probably the whiskey that just disappointed completely. We've had a lot of good whiskeys. I really haven't had that many this year that disappointed me. Yeah.
What about you, John?
So I'm gonna go with, and it's not because the whiskey's bad. The whiskey's fine, but it's just the hype that was surrounding it, the circumstances surrounding it. So I'm going with the Heaven Hill bottled in bond. I was just really bummed out that it wasn't all that good. I didn't, it's a perfectly decent average bottle of whiskey, but for the price, for the change, for the everything that went on with that whiskey over the last year, it just didn't do it for me. I don't think it's that great.
Yeah.
What about you, Kyle?
Unpopular opinion here, so feel free to lynch me afterwards.
Woo! George C. Stagg.
Hey, man, I agree with you. I was not a fan this year.
Dude, there is so much cherry cough syrup on the finish. Like I opened it and I nosed it and I was like, man, this smells so good. Took a swig. I was like, yeah, I meant, whoa, what? Like, it just changed immediately. I was like, oh. Like, my wife did the same thing. We were both like, that is like straight up cough syrup on the finish.
I think I talked to Jason about this. I think a lot of people really would have been like super happy had they had taken the Stag Junior and put it in the Stag bottle. People would have been like, you know what? This is just a really good bottle of Stag.
Yeah, if we had taken like batch 12 and put it in a Stag,
yeah,
people would have been happy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even batch 13 is pretty good. We just picked that one up. I didn't ever see 12, but 13 is phenomenal as well.
Everyone, everyone raise your glass to Bill Sloan, a $5 super chat. He says, "I can't stay. I'm exhausted, but just want to show some love." Cheers, Bill. Thanks for coming.
Bill.
Cheers,
Bill. Thanks.
Yeah, I agree. The George T. Stagg for me was, when I think of George T. Stagg, I think proof, I think viscosity, I think a long finish, and this year's just did not do it for me. I chose batch 12 over that in a blind a couple times. Tomorrow on my live stream, I'm doing like kind of an ultimate George T. I'm doing like a George T. Stagg like ultimate blind showdown. I'm doing batch 9 versus batch 12 versus batch 13 versus George T. Stagg from this year and from last year.
Nice.
All in one blind tasting. So we'll see how that comes out.
Honestly,
Good
like
luck
I was,
having any
I was
taste
really
buds
happy
left.
with the proof being 116. I was excited about it, but like, and I love the cherry flavor, but that cough syrup just killed it.
Yeah. Scott, my bourbon journey, what was your disappointment?
I guess kind of like John said, I didn't have a bottle of it. We don't get it obviously here, and I never got a bottle of it, but I did get a sample of the, of the new Heaven Hill, that 7-year. And I think the hard part is not that it was a bad whiskey. It was the fact that it used to be $12 and it has one more year on it, and now it's $40 or $45. So you're a little bit jaded from that standpoint. So you're trying to eliminate it or kind of exclude it from like what it used to be, which is basically impossible to do. But I mean, it's still a good whiskey, but knowing what it was before, which at the time, I mean, $12 for that was super undervalued. I mean, they had to do something, but at $40 or $45, I mean, it would have been nice if it would have maybe been around that $30 or $35, price point. I think people would have been, much, much happier with that at that point.
Yeah, there's a quick comment from Bourbon saying, he said, "Interesting. I still like the 2019 GTS. It is still BTAC after all." Yeah, I mean, I get that. But I mean, when you start really having some different BTACs, some different George T. Staggs. I mean, I've had a couple. I've been lucky enough to have a couple pours from the older ones, 2013, 2014, and it just didn't even get close to that. I think for me, my biggest disappointment was I definitely put the Heaven Hill up there, but I already might have been biased before I even tasted that bottle, just on the price point and what they did with it, not releasing it in Kentucky. Rhetoric 25 was up there for me. I paid like $200 and something for that, and that bottle really pissed me off. But yeah, so that was probably one of my disappointments. So next up, for all you guys, what was if you had to pick your favorite craft distillery, stuff that you've tasted, whether it be an American single malt, whether it be a rye, whether it be a bourbon, an American whiskey, what's your number one go-to? If you had any choice of a craft distiller right now, what are you picking? I'll start with John, Blind Whiskey Reviews. What are you going to?
I mean, for me, there's not a ton of like reasonably good craft whiskey stuff that's local available. So I mean, I'm still pulling from the stuff from Kentucky. Like we just barely got New Riff, so I really like New Riff. I got the chance to try some Wilderness Trail, and that was really good, but it's not available here. So I'll stick with New Riff because it's the only one I have that's really available, and it's pretty damn good.
Yeah. What about you, Scott? Scott Just Dummies?
We give them a lot of love. I'll stick with Iron Root Republic.
Yeah.
I mean, they're coming up, and I mean, they're just doing some phenomenal stuff with young whiskey right now. They just hit the 5-year mark for their distillery. So they're going to start, we'll start seeing some older stuff, but shoot, they're pushing out stuff that's 2 or 3 years old. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
They're working with good corn, good grains, hand picking, select. I mean, they got some corn they're paying $20 a pound for, and they're trying different things with different woods, and I like what they're doing.
What about you, Kyle?
I was actually thinking the exact same thing John was. New Riff, I mean, is an obvious choice, and for a little bit more craft, I was going to say Wilderness Trail. I mean, they're just putting out some amazing stuff, especially their rye. If you can get like their single barrel rye, I mean, it's freaking phenomenal.
Yeah, that was actually my pick. I love what Wilderness Trail is doing. I have to try more New Riff picks. I'm a big fan of their core line. I've had some kind of funky picks. But speaking of New Riff, have you guys heard about this? Have you guys heard about the controversial label that was made about Rick Pitino? You guys heard about this label? It's a New Riff. Let me show you the label here. Let me get it on the screen for you guys. So somebody made a label for New Riff with Rick Pitino on it. Let me see if you guys can see that.
Like a store sticker?
It's a store sticker, but it shows it's kind of him like Two-Face.
Yeah.
Right.
So you have on one side, it's him with his the basketball team celebrating. On the other side, it's money and strippers, and I guess the kind of the evil side of Pitino.
Let's not judge. All right. I'm just putting that out there.
I ain't mad at him for it.
Yeah. It's like it's causing quite the ruckus in Kentucky, and I think people are trying to grab a bottle of this, but apparently you're going to have to know a guy that knows a guy that knows a guy that knows a guy to get one. But I wanted to ask you, when it comes to store picks, do you guys how much does a label play into it for you guys? Are you guys interested in a cool label? Does it, or you just really kind of care about the flavor of the whiskey? Because some people,
Hey guys, real quick.
buy it if it has a cool label. Some people don't care.
I've got to run real quick. My dog just had a seizure, so I got to cut out of here. So
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry,
right, see you guys.
Take care of your dog, man.
All right, sorry, man.
For me, it matters what's in the bottle first. If it has a cool sticker, cool. If not, I really just care about the stuff in the bottle.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. You know, if it's got a cool sticker and it's good, great. But I don't really care about the sticker. I mean, we all care about the whiskey. So
I know some distilleries were. Was it Knob Creek? There was, I forget what it was, but there was like a really controversial label. I don't know if it had to do with like white supremacy or it was like way, way out there.
Oh,
and obviously Knob Creek was like, you can't be doing that. Like, but obviously, like once it leaves the distillery, like they have no control over what people put on their bottles. But like stuff like this, like it could be a concern for the distillery because they could get the backlash from it.
No, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think the stickers for some people definitely make it seem a little bit more enticing to buy a bottle, depending on the sticker. But obviously, it just comes down to the juice inside. I think for whiskey nerds, we want to make sure it tastes good. But for someone that's just in a store, they might say, "Hey, that has a nice, colorful sticker on it." So,
I think to some extent too, though, there is something to be said for the people that are willing to like design and make these really cool stickers and put them on the bottle are generally making better picks than not 100% of the time, but I'd say a good chunk of the time. People that are willing to go that far with it are really into whiskey and willing to like make a really good pick or something that's interesting. So you might be better off picking the bottle that does have the sticker than the one without, but the sticker isn't everything for me, but I definitely think it's an indication that maybe it's a better bottle.
Yeah, I made this sticker from my foolproof pick that I'm rather proud of. My Kraken sticker.
That's cool.
I'll keep an eye out for mine in the mail.
Sure, absolutely, man.
No, I'll tell you too. As far as YouTube goes in our reviews, though, I'll avoid a store pick. I mean, they're good to buy and to try the different, and a lot of people really enjoy getting those, and there's some good whiskeys in there. But when it comes to doing a review on YouTube, if there's only 200 bottles of it, I mean, nobody can get it. Nobody's interested in the review of that particular bottle.
Anybody who can get it already has it, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think as reviewers, we're not going to really review a store pick because, especially if no one can get it. But I understand what you're saying. I think before we move on to the next topic, let's just quickly raise a glass for Scott's dog because he's having a seizure, and let's send some prayers out there. I hope he's okay.
To Scott's dog.
Roger that.
Hey, Malton Montreal's in the house. What's up, Swami? Rebecca Page, Bourbon Sane, Jason Coates, Richie Z, Trev Wilson, Bourbon Sane, Rock Gut Review, the usual suspects. Thanks for coming in, guys, and hanging out tonight. All right, so next topics, guys. First off, before we go into that, what's everyone drinking right now?
I was just about ready to say something because I just opened this, and this literally I have not seen in our area before. But
Really?
the Old Forester Rye, and it's pretty damn good.
Isn't that great for like $23 or whatever it is?
Yeah, I think it was. It might have been like 32 here.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean, even
price
at that,
reductions.
Yeah, for 100 proof, 100 proof, and that was my top value whiskey of the year right there. That there was, Jackie Zykin, what she's doing with Old Forester and bringing down prices and making it available. I think they're kind of the gold standard right now in making shit available for people.
Yeah, and I can
Well,
get $750 of that for $18.
Yeah,
Like,
really
steal deal. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it's worth 30, I think. So I mean, that's not even a bad deal. And I'm not even that big of a rye guy. I don't find myself going to ryes that often. But it's pretty damn tasty.
Well, so Scott, that one has actually a different type of mash bill. That's the second dominant grain in that is actually barley. So, and corn is the least grain, while rye is the dominant grain. So maybe because you have kind of a more of a scotchy palate, you might like that flavor profile a little bit more. It's a little bit more lemony, I think, than a typical rye.
So that's actually
it's not as sweet. It doesn't seem like it's probably because of the barley. If they're using that much barley, it's probably brought in some of that the grassiness to it and toned down a lot of the sweetness.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Kyle, what are you sipping?
Right now, I grabbed some Bellmead Single Barrel, the Nashville 12-year pick.
Nice. Yeah, those are delicious, man.
But what I was going to say for Scott is that's actually really close to what I've been drinking a lot of recently is the regular Old Forester 100 proof.
Yeah.
To me, it's like almost the same flavor profile as 1920, just not turned up as much.
Is that
it's like 1920 Junior? And like you said, for like $25.
That's the Old Forester signature, right?
Yeah, the 100 proof.
Yeah,
regular.
Yeah,
it tastes like 1920, just not turned up as much, at least to me. And I like it.
Not mad at that.
Yeah, Ben Stahl came in and said the Old Forester 150th anniversary bottle is going to be great this year. A 3-part series commemorating the 3 historic warehouses. Yeah, that's one of those releases I'm definitely looking forward to this year.
That'll probably be something I never see.
Along with the Old Forester batch proof, but those are going to be picks. So if you have a store that does Old Forester picks, hopefully they get a barrel proof one in. Let me see. Blind whiskey reviews. What are you sipping?
Right now, I'm sipping a little bit of the RC6 Maker's Mark.
Nice.
Trying to get a little more air in this bottle.
I'm actually doing an Irish tonight. I was watching Whiskey Crusaders last night. They had Donald Rance on. It was kind of a Irish whiskey Yoda, I call him. I'm drinking the Whistler, which is a 7-year cask strength Irish whiskey. I'm telling you, man, I wish there were more cask strength Irish whiskeys around. These are just. This one is it's butter pecan, but I call it butter pecan. It tastes like pure butter pecan. That's what
that's what you do on your neighbor's bedroom windows. Pecan.
It's actually what I used to call hot Puerto Rican girls in New York. I call them butter pecans.
So that next to your other bottle right there, if that's the cask strength, is it?
Yeah, this is the Redbreast cask strength.
How would you compare those two?
This one is way more kind of on that pecan. It seems like it has more sugar in it, whereas this is more like cookie vanilla biscuit, also a little bit of lemon. But,
a lot of biscuit.
Yeah, a lot of biscuit.
Straight up biscuit.
What I've seen with the Irish whiskeys is you got to hit really about that 10-year age statement, 10 to 12 years, and that the cask influence really starts to come out on the whiskey.
Yeah.
Anything up to around that 7-year mark, you kind of just get a lot of creams, a lot of vanillas, kind of a standard Irish whiskey profile. But then once you hit that 10, 12-year mark, really it starts to bring out a lot of the fruitiness and fruits that you just don't get in the younger ones. Yeah,
like the Loose Stout was one of my favorites from Redbreast.
Oh yeah,
it's such a good bottle. I think just their whole range is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
So let's kind of transition now to the kind of some of these topics that I found I was looking at, I don't know if you guys know the company Nielsen. It's a data company. They kind of look at different trends throughout different industries throughout the United States and abroad. So I looked at some of these trends that they were going through with whiskey and just the alcohol industry in general. And some of the interesting trends that I saw that they had mentioned, I was wanting to get your take on this, is they see in 2020 a call for more lower ABV spirits, combining that with more ready-to-drink cocktails and low sugar or zero carb spirits. There kind of is the drink healthier movement.
I think that's for Swami's channel. If he's still here.
Yeah, he's still there. Yeah. I think he's
I think my White Claw should be cold by now. Hold on.
Yeah.
I just kind of want to get your guys' take because I know there's even been some rumors that they're going to start opening some dry bars throughout more progressive cities, bars that don't serve alcohol. They serve
hipsters.
Yeah, exactly. They serve mocktails or they serve low carb, no carb, low fat whiskey drinks. And I'm wondering, do you guys think that this is something that big distilleries might pay attention to, or do you think it's just kind of a hipster fad that will sooner or later go by the wayside?
I think
it feels like a hipster fad.
Well, you know what? If they start to see the dollar signs, that's going to sway some. Go back to the vodka boom, several years ago. You used to go into a store and there was like 3 bottles of vodka. You had Grey Goose and you had Absolute and you had the $7 stuff.
Yeah.
And now you go in there and there's 6,000 bottles of vodka to choose from. So I think if they see the dollar signs, you'll probably see some of the big boys start to do something.
Yeah, if there's a market for it, the distillers will jump on it. The one thing I was also thinking is, kind of what's going to be the next, hard seltzer? Is there going to be a hard whiskey? Is there going to be not that whiskey's already isn't hard, but is there going to be something like that becomes more trendy and available in a whiskey category, not a hard seltzer? I think I've been reading that they're talking about a hard cold brew that's going to come out, a hard kombucha type tea, whiskey, all the whiskey seltzer. I mentioned earlier before we got on the stream, do you think someone's going to create the first CBD infused mocktail? Now, I mentioned that combining alcohol and CBD is still illegal, but do you think someone's going to make a non-alcoholic beer or non-alcoholic spirit or a non-alcoholic drink with CBD infused in it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you got to give people something so if you're not going to provide a drink that has alcohol in it, you got to give them some reason to drink it other than the fact that it's loaded with sugar or God knows what. The idea of a bar that serves drinks that have no social lubricant in them doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. You're going to go out and spend a fortune on a beverage that has what, fruit juice and bubbles? I don't know. It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah. DH, so that's a great idea, buddy. He'll have 1 million views in no time. Just because I feel like some of these trends, I definitely think a CBD thing is coming. Who is the first one? I think maybe Canada might be in that conversation since it's legal there. Maybe we'll see it from there first. Maybe it'll come out of Kevin Meyer saying CBD infused drinks already exist. And I realize that, but I'm talking about one of the big producers kind of jumping on board and creating something.
I don't think they're going to be doing it here because it's not federally legal yet. So I think it'll be a while before anything like that happens. But
yeah, no, absolutely. What do you guys think about? Okay. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, I know they're making the teas and the sugar drinks and stuff with it, but like you said, I don't think there's any alcoholic drinks yet, though. with it. And I don't know if in the States, if they've allowed it for consumption at all. I mean, I know there's all the lotions and people are smoking it and that stuff, but I don't know
like
if they
CBD gummy bears and CBD all kinds of stuff that you can eat.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say I know my buddy up in Ohio got some like hemp infused beer.
Yeah.
Obviously that doesn't have CBD in it, but I will say it was pretty disgusting. So there's that. I took
the
one
term CBD is a little confusing too, because CBD doesn't necessarily have THC in it, right? So like I guess it really gets down to like what's in the stuff.
I think also it kind of calls to the where some of these craft distilleries are going to go. I mean, do you guys think we're going to see a kind of a separation of the distilleries, the craft distilleries that opened up and are seeing some success now? Or do you also think we're going to see some of the ones that just, wanted to open one just because it was a fad, and we're gonna start to see some of those maybe close or go under?
I think that's coming. I don't know if it's anytime necessarily real soon. I think maybe they've got another year or two. But I mean, I've made the comparison between distilleries and craft distilleries and like craft beer a lot of times. And, we kind of saw that fad of craft beer where it really exploded. And then you noticed a bunch of them shut down because they just couldn't maintain. It was a saturated industry. And I think we're kind of there with when it comes to whiskey. So I think at some point, because I've tried a lot of craft whiskey, and especially here in California. California is a terrible place to make whiskey. It just isn't good. The environment isn't good. You cannot age your whiskey very long because within a few years, the barrels are empty. So it just really doesn't make a lot of sense to make whiskey in California. And there's a bazillion craft distilleries that opened up. So I think a lot of those are going to be shutting down because their whiskey is absolute trash for the most part. So
yeah, I would agree. I think we'll start seeing some of the separation between the men and the boys here. Who's going to be sticking around and still creating some good whiskey. When it comes to some of these craft distilleries, regular distilleries, the new releases, the new additions to core product lines, is the market, in your opinion, getting oversaturated? Is there too much? Is it affecting? Do you think it's affecting things in a bad way, in a good way? I mean, when you think about it, too much whiskey isn't a bad thing at all. But when you see real, quality producers making great whiskey, and maybe somebody passing that by because of another brand that might have a source whiskey that's young and maybe has a fancier label but not be as good, do you guys think the market's oversaturated a bit?
I think we're getting there if it's not there. And the problem is the craft distillers, the new guys, they have to start with good grain. They have to start with good whiskey or good wood and age it properly. Don't rush it to the bottle. The ones that are not making good whiskey and they're still trying to charge $50 or $60 a bottle
or more
are going to be the one. I mean, they're going to fall to the wayside. And so, the guys that are doing it right, I suppose, are going to rise to the top. So I guess in a way that's a good thing. But I think I go into the store now all the time, and it always seems like there's a new whiskey that shows up. And I mean, there's so many bottles in our store now that I'm simply not buying just because I haven't heard anything about it. It's new. And it's not worth it right off the bat.
And I think kind of to that same point, Scott, like how much are consumers willing to pay $50, $60 and more for craft stuff when they've been burned so many times on different craft stuff that is just it's not good. You know what I mean? Like chocolate, like they're putting out stuff that's not good. And like Scott said, people are going into the store and be like, I've had a lot of crap stuff. I don't want another crap bottle for $60. Like,
if there's several bottles there and they're $50, and then here's a new, a new Jack Daniel's offering, or Four Roses, or Knob Creek, and it's $50, I'm going with the big boy, just because I'm pretty sure Yeah, exactly. I mean, you just know, or I mean, it's probably at least it's more worth your effort or whatnot, and trying. But
I mean, I think that's really what ends up crushing these guys, right? Is the fact that you get burned a few times trying a young craft whiskey and it really isn't good. And then you go back to old reliable. And especially when the big boys are all expanding their product lines. I mean, everybody's putting out new stuff. You know, we're getting at least one new release from the distilleries every year, it seems like nowadays. So, you know, you've got this expanding line of new whiskeys coming out from the big distilleries who, you know, put out good whiskey. Why are you going to mess with all this craft stuff? There's almost not a point to some extent, you know?
Yeah, I happen to agree with Trev Wilson, what he's saying here. Oversaturation is happening now. It will only be a matter of time before the numbers of craft dwindles. I think we're going to start seeing that this year. It may not be immediate, but I think we're going to start seeing some of these weird craft distilleries that are sourcing and not really producing anything on their own. They're going to start getting pricey. The competition is really fierce out there. And now this is an interesting question because we bring up Old Forester and Brown Forman, what they're doing, and you know, people in the bourbon community, whiskey community, I mean, they love what they're doing. You look at Woodford Reserve; they expanded their line twice, whether you love it or hate it. The malt whiskey, the wheated whiskey, both new core line additions, both priced $30-$35, both available everywhere you go because it's Brown Forman. They did the same thing. I mean, Scott, you're drinking the Old Forester Rye, available, high quality, delicious. They're bringing more barrel proof to the table. Do you guys see more distilleries following suit with? I think we're going to still see a lot of limited editions this year, obviously, because I think the secret's out. That's what the people want, and that's what's selling. But I'm wondering if we're going to see a call to action from these other distilleries. They're going to say, well, maybe everyone except Buffalo Trace, because they don't seem to ever care about saturating the market with anything, unfortunately. But you have, will we see, you think, other people expand the lines, make it more affordable, make it more accessible? I think there's about 2-point-something million barrels, aging in. I think they put about 2-point-something million a month now in Kentucky. It's some crazy number. There's so much whiskey aging right now. Do you think we're going to get to a point where, the market's going to catch up and we're going to start seeing some more available and readily available bourbons and expansions of product lines that people can actually get?
I mean, the big distilleries are going to have to start expanding the availability of their current lines or expand into new whiskeys because they've all increased their pipelines so much that, in the next, maybe like 3 years, these guys are going to have more whiskey than they know what to do with. So they're going to have to figure out something to move that whiskey. So,
but that could be something as simple as a new label, like the Knob Creek 12-year.
Yeah, of course.
I guess my question is, like, how many of the good craft distilleries are going to be hurt from the poor craft distilleries because people aren't buying? Like we say, hey, Wilderness Trail is really cool. But someone that doesn't know any better, walks into a store, to them, that's just another craft distillery.
Yeah.
And I think as far as reviewers, be it YouTubers, bloggers and whatnot, when you get Wander back, and I've got some samples that'll get to here soon, hopefully, but even New Riff or Iron Root, when you've got people that are continuously talking about it or pushing that, I think that's going to help those guys. And I think they'll start to realize that. But at the same time, and someone was talking about earlier in one of the comments, they're not going to buy a craft distillery whiskey unless they know one or several reviewers have talked about it and like it. So that's the same. I've looked at stuff. I go, yeah, I haven't seen anybody really review that. Or I see a bottle. I'm like, yeah, I know Mash and Drum really like that one, so I'll pick that one up and try it. I think it goes.
I don't think anybody says that ever.
No, I did do that, and I can't remember what it was with, Jason, but I knew it was something that you had tried and liked. And I think even you and Scott doing this New Riff, And because this came from North Dakota, my nephew up there, he'd sent me a picture. He's like, "Hey, are you looking for this?" And I knew that at least Scott, and I think Jason, you had done it as well, hadn't you?
Yeah, I did that. Yeah, a while back. Yeah, I was impressed with that bottle and bond bourbon. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm like, pick me up, because I know other reviewers have liked that one. So
yeah. Question quick from Ouches Von Doom: is anyone interested in the new Benchmark lineup?
Yes.
So for those of you that don't know about the new Benchmark, so Benchmark 8 Year is a lineup, is a whiskey, or it's a bourbon released by Buffalo Trace. They are releasing about, what is it, Kyle? About 5 or 6 new expressions of it.
Something like that, yeah.
It's a barrel proof, a single barrel, like a high floor one, like a high floor warehouse version. A bottled and bond, I think. They're expanding the line by a lot. Any of you guys excited for that one?
I am.
I haven't seen it, so
I mean, it's not out yet, but I don't get excited for anything new from Buffalo Trace. Just like the Weller single barrel could be coming out. I mean, it's like, yeah, I'm happy they're coming out, but I mean, will we see it?
Like, how about you just give more, stores allocations? How about that?
Yeah, or just make Weller available for the masses if you need be. I mean,
right.
I mean, I know. Listen, a lot of us that have tried Weller, we know, what's good, what's not good. Those of us that are lucky I'm in Ohio, which is now known as the Weller capital. So I'm lucky I can get Special Reserve or Antique, pretty frequently. But, for those who can't, it's a shame. So
I think there's a question. I think Buffalo Trace has to have the best marketing in the business.
Yeah, I would hear you. I would totally agree with that.
I mean, they release some allocated bottles in small batches that drives everybody to buy all the other offerings that they offer that's out there on the shelf.
Yeah, I mean,
all the Wellers.
Yeah, say what you want. I think there's a method to their madness. I think they've figured it out. I think this is what they do, and unfortunately, this is how it. I mean, I did a top 5 available go-to bourbon, and I got a bunch of questions like, how come there's no Buffalo Trace on there? I'm like, because I can't walk in and buy a Buffalo Trace here in Ohio.
I know it.
Like nothing, like not even regular. The only thing I can get from Buffalo Trace is Benchmark 8 and Ancient Age. That's it.
Eagle Rare used to be everywhere here, and Buffalo Trace as well. It still is Weller's, but I'm out last weekend and I see Eagle Rare is now $60 here.
Oh,
I mean, that's crazy. Yeah, I mean,
$60? Really? Jesus.
Luckily, here in Tennessee, we can get pretty much Buffalo Trace and Eagle Rare fairly regularly on the shelf.
Yeah, and this is the other thing. James Humphreys.
Any Weller anywhere.
Yeah, James Humphreys says Buffalo Trace has the best tater following. Absolutely.
Exactly.
I mean, even now, when I go to my morning shops in Ohio, the guys that are there at early in the morning, every 3 weeks, about 6 bottles of Blanton's comes into some stores, and more than any other week, those are always the guys that are there online just to buy Blanton's. It's incredible.
They can have it.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. My dog had a seizure.
Dude, that's messed up, man.
Too soon. Man. Too soon.
Too soon.
Wait,
I'm actually curious to get Scott your thoughts on this. Now with the new tariffs kicking in, and we're already starting to see them in Ohio. Macallan 12 is now about $70 or $80. I don't know if you guys are seeing it in your areas where the tariffs are affecting the prices of Scotch. Do you think that these upticks in Scotch pricing will drive more people to bourbon or American single malts?
Well, I think the majority of the market in the States already is bourbon centric. We just talk to people, in Kentucky and stuff. And a lot of the southern states, Scotch isn't a thing there. No stores hardly carry it. You go in there and you got your standard offerings of Johnny Walker or Chivas Regal, and that's about it. So and talking to my store, we're seeing a $5 increase on a $50 bottle.
It's about 10%.
Yeah, about a 10. Yeah, 10% increase. So, and we've seen a few bottles already go up, but Macallan 12 has already entered the $70 range, before the tariffs.
Yeah.
But it's not going to help Scotch. I mean, I don't think that necessarily drives more people there. But, and like I said, I think the majority of the states is already bourbon centric anyway. So I think it's trying to get people to Scotch. So.
Yeah. And DH Still brings up a good point. There's really not enough American single malts to start with or for people to try and get interested in, or at least ones that are available. I mean, there are some great ones out there. You have your Westland, you have your Wanderback, you have Virginia Distilling. It's making great ones. Stranahan's seems to be one of the more available ones. Balcones out of Texas, although that's a Texas single malt, which has a very unique flavor profile to it. Not sure that's everyone's cup of tea. Trying to think of some of the others.
Yeah, but even and Balcones is doing some single malts, but I mean they're doing corn whiskeys, they're doing bourbons.
Yeah,
and, I mean they're doing good stuff. I mean that's a good if they're still considered a craft distillery, they're doing some good stuff as well.
No, it's definitely going to drive people into bourbon. I mean, where else are you going to go? Like you're not going to go to American single malts. There's not enough of them, so it's definitely going to drive people to bourbon. Because guys like me that, I'm not a huge Scotch guy, but I've kind of been dabbling in that way. Like it's going to be really difficult now when you can't buy, a 12-year Scotch for less than $60 or $70. That makes it really like price prohibitive, So.
But the only thing with that is like Scotch has always been in general way more expensive than bourbon.
Right, and now it's even more expensive.
10% increase really going to hurt those people that are spending, $100, $150 on a bottle. Are they really going to go after a $30 bottle of bourbon?
6 years ago when we started, and we're the Scotch Test Dummies, we were just doing Scotch. And I think we were doing reviews for a year, close to a year, and we were like, hey, we're in the States, and bourbon is United States. And it's all over, and it's cheaper than Scotch. Maybe we should start reviewing it as well. And we did, and it was, half the price of Scotch, when you look at your average prices for a bottle. But the thing is now, bourbon has gone through such a boom and such the interest, and everybody's snatching up all the allocated bottles. It's driven up, interest in all of them. And now we probably spend as much on bourbon, if not more than we do Scotch.
Yeah.
Yeah, Robot Scott, does anyone feel like every release event I go to, half the people there are flippers? Absolutely. I still feel that way.
100%.
100%.
What I think is more, it is not, Kyle you were trying to say that it's about, the guy that's spending $200 on a bottle isn't going to care about paying an extra $40 or $50. And you're right. I think where it really comes in is that it's the people that are getting into Scotch or getting into bourbon. You're trying to make that choice. Now that price difference is humongous. Where Scotch was always a little bit more expensive, now it's way more expensive. So, it just is what it is. Oh, look, the Linux cat just unsubscribed to my channel. Not cool and not funny. Well, cool, dude. Don't need you watching anyways. See ya. Don't care. You can't take a joke, dude. I have no cares if you don't watch my channel. See ya.
Do you guys think in 2020 we'll start seeing, when it comes to the bourbon boom, you think people are going to start getting a little bit sick and tired of people waiting online, or you think it's just going to keep continuing? Because I've seen already in 2020. The lines are a little bit smaller at the liquor store, and maybe that's because it's a little bit slower of a month right now. But I'm curious to see how it's going to go, or do you think it's still going to be, Taterland out there for 2020?
So every year I keep saying that, I think it's going to taper off this year. I think it's going to taper off this year, and it doesn't. And not saying that it's never going to happen, but at the same time, like, okay, to both your points. There's so many people in these lines that are flippers, okay? People don't even have to wait in line anymore. They just go online and, buy it. Luckily, I think that if anything's going to have an effect on it, BSM getting shut down is hopefully going to have an effect on that. I don't know if we've seen it yet, but I don't know. I don't see it slowing down this year. You know, as far as regular people being able to get decent bottles.
I think what's going to happen is there's enough people buying bottles that are drinking them, and they're going to pay $200 or $300 for Weller's 12, just as an example, and then they're going to go, that's not that good. I mean, that's not a $200 or a $300 whiskey, and they kind of get that. A dog bites you once, you're afraid of all dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And at least that's what I'm thinking. And I think it's going to start to move towards then the secondary market. Everybody that's buying these bottles, those flippers, and they're sitting on them and trying to sell them. Eventually it's going to catch up to them. And people I think are going to quit paying, for your average whiskeys. I think you're going to have your special releases. You're going to have, the Four Roses, 130th or the birthday bourbons. You're going to have those small release batches that are just going to go for more, but people are going to get tired of paying top dollar for Weller's 12, for Van Winkle's, for the B-Tax. My personal opinion.
I would have to disagree with that just because, the whole, like, a sucker's born every minute,
Yeah.
When Weller's 12 went up to $100 a bottle, I was like, who the hell is buying this for $100? And then before I knew it, it was $200. And I was like, who is buying this stuff? Like, how the hell did this go from $100 to $200? Like, where is but there's no justification at all. You know what I mean? Like, as long as new people are getting into it, people are going to keep paying those prices. It may not be the same people, like you said, but, as long as new people are getting into it, like, they're not going to know any better.
Mark Saliba says, I traded a Weller 12 for a Glendronach 15 a few days ago. You think I got a good deal?
You could have got a better deal. I mean, still, yeah. It depends on what you paid for the Weller 12, because the Glendronach 15 is $100 bottle.
Yeah.
So
you probably should have went for the Glendronach 18 for Weller
12. You could have done that.
I mean, a lot of people can still get Weller 12 for in the $20, the $25 to $30 range. When I find it, I can. And so a Glendronach 15 for me is like $80.
You can still find Weller 12 for $25.
When I come across it, yeah, it's like the last bottle I bought, I think it was $26.99 or something like that.
God dang, I ain't seen it for that for 2 years.
That's when it comes through like the big box stores, but they still get it every now and again. You come across one, you get it for like the actual retail price. So,
yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens when you kind of take all these different new releases that are supposed to come out, the ones that are coming out every year, and see, are they going to be, because one thing I always get afraid of is, I feel like a lot of these distilleries will have, because they have so much stuff aging right now, they have the barrels laying around, they have the whiskey. Are they just going to say, hey, let's just take those barrels, let's throw it in a limited release and see if it sells? And most likely it will. If it's a limited release, you put it in a fancy bottle, a fancy box, and people are going to buy it.
Well, I mean, that's what they did in the 70s, right?
Pretty much. But will the quality still be there? Or is it just going to keep going? I saw Buffalo Trace is working on their next Craft Your Perfect batch. So they've already kind of sent out, if you look on Facebook and some of the other one, like, some of the other news feeds that I follow, they're already kind of putting out there to crowdsource their next Crafty Perfect batch. And I'm wondering if it's going to be some weird concoction of, I would like a 7.5-year-old bourbon, that's only, 88 proof, like something really weird.
I really just hope it's better than last time.
Yeah.
I did not like it last time. The finish was just straight up weird.
I never even saw or got to try the CYPB.
You're not missing much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I did have a sample of the barrel proof or the full proof Wellers, and I thought that was pretty darn good.
I wanted to hate this bottle so much.
Yeah.
I really did. I was really hoping it would just be like 107, just a little bit higher proof. And it was so much better than 107.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, damn it.
Here, people are asking if I had to camp out to get Weller 12 here. $26.99.
Very nice.
Wow.
And no, I didn't camp out. I mean, to be honest, when I come across it, it's luck. I walk in, it happens to be there. Like it just, I'm not a camper outer. I've never done that.
Yeah, I think Weller 12 is one of those bottles that's great. You know, it's great if you love it, but it's also great to trade if you need it.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll tell you, our deal is Bart and I's is that and even our liquor store knows that. And the problem is, you know, they have people that are willing to pay them $300 or $400 for a BTAC bottle or for the Van Winkles or some of the other allocated bottles. And we've told them, we're not going to pay you that much. You know, we'll give you $100 because there's so much other good whiskey out there. Why spend that much money, you know, to get it?
Come on, baby.
You can get 3 or 4 or 5 bottles of other stuff.
There you go.
know, there's a quick post of ADHD from ADHD whiskey. Matt says the demand is so much higher than the supply that the majority of bourbon hunters aren't sick of paying for the new releases. I totally agree with that. They're getting tired of hunting. People are begging for available LEs.
Spot on.
Yeah, spot on.
Yep.
I think when limited editions come out, people want to see them, want to be able to get them available instead of trying to hunt for them all over the place, all over different states. And I think we're also seeing a shift in where allocation is from new whiskeys and new bourbons. Heaven Hill is a great example. I mean, they're releasing a small batch rye this year to kind of coincide. It's going to be like $35. Great product extension. But at first, it's going to be released in a lot of different it's not even going to be released in Kentucky. It's going to be in Washington and Texas, a lot of weird states. I'm sure they have different reasons for that, but some of that I always kind of puzzles me a little bit too.
What is this for?
The Elijah Craig rye, small batch rye.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. I'm excited about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it's coming to Tennessee first, but it's going first to a lot of kind of off just, you know, some states that you wouldn't. Well, anything Elijah Craig or anything from Heaven Hill, you would think is going to go everywhere because they do have, you know, a massive distribution. But it's just like they seem to be kind of piecemealing everything. I'm wondering if they're subscribing to the same idea as Buffalo Trace a little bit and trying to drive up demand for their products.
Of course, Texas gets it, though.
You know, I'll tell you though, too, I think some liquor store owners are getting tired of dealing with the masses and dealing with the headaches and everything, everybody wanting stuff. I have found more in general liquor stores, and somebody just commented that they're tired of hunting. I have more fun hunting. I mean, I'll go hunting any day rather than go stand in line somewhere to wait for a bottle. But because I found more bottles, and it's just you go into a store and the liquor store owner just puts one out on the shelf of something because he, you know, at normal price because he's tired of the headaches.
Yeah, and I think this question from DH Silv, which would kind of maybe wrap this up tonight. I think more and more people are waiting to see higher prices, but on shelves, the hunt gets old over time. People just burn out on it. So would you guys be willing to pay a higher price on a bottle if it's available and on the shelf rather than hunt it for the MSRP?
Yeah.
Depends on the price increase. 40, 50%, maybe. 200, 300, 400%? No.
Let's say it's double the price.
What's the bottle?
I don't know. Let's pick a Four Roses LE, the one that comes out. The Four Roses LE. If that was on the shelf, available, but instead of 140, it was, what is that? 380?
280?
280? Would you?
At that price, I'm out.
That's pretty high. I'm pulling Weller 12 for an example.
But remember, though,
I'd pay 50, 60, maybe 70.
Yeah, you don't have to go wait online for it. You don't have to wait online overnight.
No, I'd probably pass at 280 on it. If it's normally 140, I might go 190, maybe 200 for it.
Yeah.
Cut that double, add 50% to it, maybe. Yeah, for most bottles.
For like BTAC, I'd probably go double. Retail $90, $100, $200.
200. Yeah.
And I think it comes down to this. I think Kilojolt kind of nailed it here. Oh wait, where did his thing go? Yeah, here we go. I think the problem is hunting for bottles that you shouldn't have to hunt for. Exactly. And
Yep.
I think that's what it comes down to. You just mentioned, Scott, Eagle Rare being, what'd you say, $60-$70 now?
Yeah, $60 here now.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I can't even get Eagle Rare here in Ohio. There's no Eagle Rare to be found. I mean, they have it. It comes in, but it trickles in. We seem to be able to get Weller every week, but they give us a couple of bottles of Eagle Rare here and there, and it's gone like that.
But that's the thing. If Eagle Rare is $60 but readily available, will you pay it?
Nope.
And that's why it's on the shelf.
Nope.
I suppose over maybe in 2 years, the problem, I mean, it's recently gone from being able to find it everywhere for $35, maybe 40, to all of a sudden you see it once in a while and it's 60. I mean, I don't think a Buffalo Trace raised the price that much. You know, that's the liquor stores cashing in.
Yeah, and I think for me it comes down to I don't really see I do look at the price, but I think availability more. Like if I take a trip to Kentucky, if I take a trip to another state, if I see something, if it's, $40, $50, $60 more than what it's supposed to be, but I know I'm never going to see that bottle again, either near me or anywhere else I'm going in the near future. If I need it for the channel, I'm probably likely to pick that up.
Right.
But if it's
That's
something
pretty
readily
relative,
available,
though, right? Like it's pretty relative to the price. Like if you found, a Weller antique, and instead of being $50, it was $100. You buy it? That's a pretty significant price increase. But if you find the Four Roses 2019 limited edition, and instead of $140, it's $190, you'd probably pick it up. I mean, so it's pretty relative to the price and the availability of it in the first place.
Yeah,
I think there's something to be said too about the hunt, right? Like I won't wait in line because I just don't have that kind of time. But like when I have the opportunity to go pop through a couple stores, it's kind of an exciting adventure. It's a treasure hunt. You're running around, you're looking for something to see if you can't find that bottle it's hiding behind, or dusty or old, or whatever the case may be. So I think there's something to be said about the actual hunt itself. I mean, I enjoy it to some extent. I get frustrated, but I enjoy it.
Yeah, Nagel Appraisal Dayton, he says, there's no Wellers on the shelf in Ohio. Really? I see them on the shelf a lot, actually, especially now that the antique has gone up in price. Some of the grocery stores throw them on the shelves and they go real quick, but some of the smaller stores keep them behind the counter. It just depends on what your retailer is. But
a year ago, here we are. I got two of them. 1 liter 107s for $29.95. Now, I have not seen Weller Antique for under $100.
Yeah,
in the last year.
Yeah, when I was in New York for 2 weeks in the holidays, I did a lot of hunting when I was there, and I saw Weller 12 for $250.
Jesus.
Weller 107 for $150. Special Reserve at $100. I mean, the prices were pretty insane. But people always ask me all the time, how do you get such great bottles? How do you get such some of these allocated bottles? And I always tell them, look, it's if you have an opportunity to make your relationships with a liquor store, then that's what you have to do. It's really kind of the only way that you're going to get something allocated, maybe.
That, or you have to throw money at it, and a lot of it these days.
No, that too. That's
one of the two.
Traveling helps.
I mean, even our liquor store, though, I mean, they've got guys that are willing to pay, $400 for stuff. And we're like, even, $200 or $300. No, that's too high. We'll give you a $150. And they're like, we'll sell it to so-and-so for $400.
Oh, Nagel Appraisal. Okay, you're in Dayton. So, it might be a different market there. But, here in Columbus, you definitely see a few of them on the shelf. My Kroger today just got like 6 cases of a Special Reserve, and it's still $23. And you know what's crazy? What's crazy? It'll sell out in 2 days. It's like, I don't know where people are putting all this Weller. It's crazy.
I think we talked about this at one point too, but like at some point, the people that like whiskey and they're whiskey enthusiasts, their collections are going to fill up. Like once you have 6 Weller Special Reserves, you're about, I'm good. I don't need any more Weller Special Reserves. So at some point, people are going to hit a threshold, right?
Yeah, I was at a point where I kind of stopped buying antique because I kept buying it because when nothing else came in, that one was always there. And for $35, I'm like, well, I better buy it now before it goes away. But it actually hasn't gone away. So
Really?
yeah, it still comes in every week. It's not like a ton. Special Reserve, we get cases upon cases.
Yeah.
Antique, though, comes in. You maybe get 1 or 2 cases if you're lucky per store. But yeah, it's crazy how it works. But yeah, like we said, no Buffalo Trace, no Eagle Rare. Stag Jr. just came into Ohio recently. I mean, that was come and gone like this. Now we don't know when we'll see it again. Blanton's comes in about every 3 or 4 weeks. So everybody knows when it's coming. It's like Buffalo Trace week. Everyone get online. So
but there's our store where last year I think they saw 2 bottles of Special Reserve and maybe 1 bottle of 107 all year.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, which, like I said, like traveling helps. You go down towards like Mississippi and stuff. This stuff on the shelf everywhere.
Yeah,
everywhere. $60 all day long. I've seen 1 bottle in Tennessee in the last year.
Yeah, if that barrel proof, if Elijah Craig barrel proof was on the shelf regularly, that would be my everyday go-to. But so I just stock up when I can find some. But yeah, just a lot of crazy things going on in the world of whiskey. To wrap things up, guys, tonight, I just want to say thank you to all 4 of you. Well, 3 of you left. I know Scott had to run, but
this is for Scott. Here's Scott's pup.
Oh, poor guy. But yeah, he's got the ice pack on him to keep him cool. I had a bulldog.
That's not an ice pack.
I had a bulldog that used to get seizures, so yeah, kind of you have to kind of cool them down real quick once they have one. So
that's a jacket. Scott, for those of you that don't know, Scott lives in Wisconsin, and in the winter he's got to keep that little pup warm or else he's going to freeze to death. So that is when I think he sent me that picture last year when it was like negative 50 degrees in Wisconsin. So that was the doggy jacket.
So before we sign off, guys, real quick, what is if there is a release coming out in 2020 that you're excited for, what is it? I'll start with you, Kyle.
I don't know, man. I mean, of course, you have all the regular stuff, the Four Roses, the Old Forester, but I'm honestly just looking for a lot more MGP, and that like 8 to 12 year MGP stuff. I mean, that's.
Well, what do you think about MGP taking a huge loss? Did you see that article?
I did. I think it has a combination of them raising their prices through the freaking roof.
Yep.
And a lot of small distilleries, their product is now, 2, 3, 4 years old, and they can put that on the market so they don't have to buy MGP anymore. Yeah.
If you kind of read the financial breakdown, they go through a lot of their higher aged whiskeys, 12 year or anything over 10 years was very, very expensive. And a lot of the craft distilleries that were supposedly going to buy it chose not to and chose to buy some distillate or much younger whiskey to hold on to and age more on their own.
Yeah, there's a distillery about an hour up the road from me that they're buying new make and putting it in the barrels themselves, and then they bought some 2 and 4 year stock, so they have something to put out in the meantime.
Yeah, so all that ultra aged bourbon that they have, all that ultra aged whiskey that is just kind of sitting in the warehouse that they thought was going to be sold, that they projected to be sold, actually just ended up kind of sitting around. So I'm curious to see if that means we're going to see more older aged MGP this year, like from craft distillers or anybody else sourcing it.
I think until they lower their prices, they're not going to be able to move it nearly as fast as we thought.
I was going to say, if they lost money, it had to be because they were a victim of their own success, because there's so many places buying from them. How could they lose money unless they got greedy?
Yeah,
they got super greedy.
Well, apparently their barrels for their 10, 12-year stuff was, 15, 16, sometimes over 20 grand. So that's
ridiculous.
That's a lot of money for a craft distillery.
Just a few years ago, they were like $2,000 or $3,000.
Listen, I'm not feeling bad for MGP. I think they're going to be fine.
No.
Yeah.
But when you wonder why these craft distilleries are sourcing MGP and putting these bottles out at $100+, that's why they're getting charged a fortune for this stuff.
At this point, like, they don't have any choice.
I think that's the other thing. I think to make up for the cost, is these craft distillers are coming out with $100 source whiskeys that they bought, and they got to make up the cost somewhere. So some of the craft distilleries that come out with this ultra aged source bourbon from MGP that's already $100, $120. It's crazy. It's like, all right, I know it's MGP, but how many 10, 12-year-old source bottles from different distilleries or different craft distilleries that are just sourcing MGP do you need? I mean, it's crazy. But
you know, for me, for $100, would I buy this again? Absolutely.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Speaking,
am I going to buy a 4-year MGP at $100? Hell no.
Yeah, speaking of Belle Meade, I went to the distillery when I was down there. I was able to grab. They had their special release, the brandy cask.
Nice. I got one of those.
Yeah, I was able to get one and try it. It was pretty delicious. I'm not a brandy guy, but it was pretty damn good.
I tried both of them. There's one that I definitely prefer over the other.
Yeah,
they're good.
John, what are you? Any whiskey you're looking forward to?
I mean, hopefully they come to fruition. I think I saw the label get put out. Maybe you even posted it, Jason, for the Rare Breed Rye. I think that's going to be a freaking cool release. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, definitely Rare Breed Rye. That's on my list too. The Rare Breed Rye, and also from Wild Turkey, they're releasing a 17-year-old bottled and bond in their Master's Keep collection.
Yep,
which I think is going to be highly sought after. And I would also probably put the Old Forester. I know there have to be picks, but there's a lot of picks out there for Old Forester, so I'm looking to find a barrel proof pick.
I was going to say, yep, the barrel proof Old Forester.
Absolutely, I'm definitely looking for that. What about you, Scotty?
You know, I don't. I take it as it comes. I really don't know what's on the forecast. I have been looking for, and I always keep my eye open for one of the Old Forester single barrels, which I've never seen. I don't know how much they're
Talk
out
to me
there.
offline, Scotty. I'll take care of you, buddy.
Do what? Are they out there?
They're out there.
Old Forester single barrels?
Yep.
But, I mean, other than that, no, I mean, I'm pretty easy, pretty laid back. I don't have anything on my radar, really, so.
No, come on, not even a compass box? That's not like you, Scott.
Well, I was thinking bourbon. I was thinking bourbon. But yeah, even at that, I don't know. I don't keep up with too much. What's on the radar? What's coming out in the future? Yeah.
All right, so we just have to find you a single barrel Old Forester. I see. You're easy.
I think we can all probably find you one of those.
A120.
You what, Kyle?
I said you're waiting on the Elijah Craig A120.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, guys. With that, I want to say thank you to all you guys who joined in tonight for another round. This was round 1 for 2020. Round 2 will be next month. Kyle, why don't you tell everybody where to find you?
Bourbon Blind on YouTube, Bourbon Blind on Instagram, and Bourbon Blind Nation is our Facebook group. Just everyone talking about whiskey, no politics, no BS, no trolling, just good whiskey talk.
Scotty, where can we find you?
Scotch Test Dummies on YouTube and on Twitter, and we are the real Scotch Test Dummies on Instagram.
John.
Yeah, you can catch me at blind_reviews on Instagram and Twitter. And you can also catch me at Mission Bottle Kill on Instagram, posting all kinds of pictures of empty bottles of whiskey, people killing all kinds of good stuff. So definitely go follow that account. Lots of fun.
And you hate dogs too, right, John?
You know, I'm a huge dog hater. I love cats. Not.
Yeah, and if you guys found me here tonight in the Mash and Drum, you pretty much, I guess, know the channel. But if you don't, you can find me at the Mash and Drum here on YouTube, Mash and Drum on Instagram, Mash and D on Twitter. Tune in tomorrow night for my ultimate George T. Stagg blind tasting, batch 9 versus batch 12 versus batch 13 versus George T. Stagg from this year and last year. It's going to be a fun night. So I will see you there. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and watching another round, and we'll see you next time. So cheers, everybody. And
see you, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Cheers.